Hey everybody, welcome to Big Balls Fantasy Football, the only show with powerful picks, sexy super fans, and that's really fun. I'm your host, 20-year fantasy veteran Greg Reifstick.
And I'm your co-host, Jenilee, a 10-year fantasy veteran, and together we are the beauty
and the beast
of fantasy football experts.
So this week, it's week 9 in the NFL, and the bye week situation really sucks. You have the Falcons, the Bills, the Bears, the Lions, the Packers, and the Titans all on bye. That takes a lot of weapons away from you, doesn't it?
Oh, it sure does. Quarterbacks, obviously, Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
and Stafford, who's
Yes.
a little up and down, but been playing pretty well. Crazy that they put 3 NFC North teams on the same bye week.
Yeah.
So NFC North-wise, you only have the Vikings playing.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Woohoo! Terry Bridgewater. Thanks a lot. Anyway, but you really need to get out there on those waiver wires probably and look for some people. Unless you have been following our advice and picking up some good players along the way. Are you in any problems on any of your teams?
I'm on problems in one of my leagues, but I think I'm going to be able to make it work. So I think the worst thing is I don't want to drop Detroit's defense, and they're on a bye. So it's like, okay, well, what player can I drop? And Martellus Bennett is on a bye, obviously. So I do have a couple players in that one. I'm going to have to figure some things out. But my other 2 leagues, I'm okay.
In one of my teams, I had to go hunting for a quarterback, and I'm going to tell you which quarterback that was in my Beast Mode picks this week. And I'm not even going to use him this week. I'm going to talk a little strategy about when it's a bye week like this, a lot of people are either dumping players to make room for people that are actually eligible to play that you can steal up really quick. So, I mean, go out there, look for some of the players that have been doing reasonably well. There are a lot of them out there. So that's just one strategy I would follow. So
yeah, and that's one thing I don't want to do is dump a good player out there because I'm lacking. So, I'm actually debating, I don't know, but I'm debating going without a kicker this week in one league.
That is a strategy that a lot of people use.
It's not great because obviously you're getting no points, and, your kickers can get you quite a few points, but it's really not worth it to drop the people that I have on my bench. I don't feel like. So.
Yeah. I mean, going...
And I'm 3-5, so
I'm 3-5 in a few of my leagues, too, so I know there's a lot of people hurt out there. Zoe's team's not doing pretty well either.
No.
Bears. There's a reason why she's not wearing a Bears jersey. And, I mean, the Bears, they're just so great. And they're just, wait a minute. Jesus. Oh, God. Who am I doing an impersonation of, Jenilee?
That must be Lamarr Houston.
I was just so excited and celebrating. I had to jump up and down, and then my leg just gave out on me. I don't know how that happened.
The Bears game was just absolutely one of the worst Bears games I can remember ever watching. Complete embarrassment. 38 points the Patriots had before halftime. The most points our Bears defense has ever allowed in the 90-year history of the Bears organization. They have never allowed that many points in a first half. It was bad on all cylinders.
It really has come down to coaching too, and it's a really big concern. You have Trestman, who was a golden coach last season, and then all of a sudden you finally have him going up against Darth Vader. You finally have him going up against Belichick, who's a master coach. And I was saying, and I was joking with Jenilee, I was like, it was like Darth Vader. And I was waiting for him to say to Marc Trestman, I am your father. Just like the master teaching the student, like, this is how you coach in the NFL, bro. And, I think it's coming on to coaching. The spirit in the locker room obviously is lacking right now.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is adjustments. They are not making adjustments at halftime, and you know what? It's obvious that defenses are trying to take Marshall and Alshon out of the game, and if that's the case, run the ball.
Yep.
That's part of why Martellus Bennett is getting a lot of catches and targets. But use what you have underneath. If they're going to force you to not use your 2 big receivers, run the ball. make the defense have to stop the run and stop Martellus, and that'll open up Brandon Marshall and Alshon. So I just feel like, they're just not making the adjustments they need to make, and it's a problem.
Yeah, let's get down to the stats. Why don't you tell us the bad news first?
Yeah, so Cutler had another fumble, which pisses me off because it got picked up by the Patriots and taken for a touchdown. So another problem, obviously, is protecting the ball, and Cutler's not doing that by any means. He's throwing interceptions. He's fumbling. We've talked about before the games he doesn't do that, we end up winning. So he went 227 yards and 3 touchdowns, which most all of that was in garbage time because the game was so far out of hand.
I had Cutler on 2 of my teams, and a poor guy down the bar at Tin Horn had him too, and we were looking like shit fantasy-wise at halftime. I was like, I should have put in Andy Dalton for Christ's sake, but yeah, he picked it all up in a second.
Yeah, and then Forte went 19 for 114 yards, which was 6 yards per carry. Again, a lot of that in garbage time. But what I did like is I think the Bears' game plan in this one was to run Forte.
Yeah.
It's just they got behind so quickly, you have to slightly abandon the run to even try to get back into it. So I think they need to stick with that game plan. Martellus Bennett went 6 for 95 yards and a touchdown. I had him in fantasy. That's great. Again, he's having his best year being in the league yet. And Jeffrey was 5 for 59 yards, a touchdown. Brandon Marshall was only 3 for 55. So I think another problem, Alshon did get a touchdown, again, garbage time. But is our receivers are not getting as much separation as they need.
Not at all.
So whether it's crisper routes, being more physical off the line of scrimmage, they need to get a lot more separation because they're just getting beat by these corners, it seems like.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, of course, the big stat, Lamarr Houston, one overdone celebration and just stupidity. Quit the stupidity, He goes on, a Twitter rant, and then he, shoots himself in the foot, so to speak. It's just dumb. So,
and Matt Slauson is also out on our offensive line. He's out for the season with a torn pectoral muscle. So we got some injuries, and defense, my goodness, terrible. Nobody could stop Gronk.
Nope.
They manned him up with safeties, corners, linebackers, one-on-one, and they were not being physical with him at the line of scrimmage as well. I kept saying, why aren't you putting your hands on him, within that 5 yards that you're allowed to slow him down off the line? They're letting him off the line clean, and you can't man-to-man him. It's a mismatch. So Gronk went crazy. You can talk about that.
Oh, let's just get into it. 9 for 9 receptions, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns. What the fuck?
He was at over 100 yards by the half.
Yeah. And unfortunately, in fantasy, I was like, it was my only saving grace of watching the game, watching our team get decimated. Like, well, at least I'm getting Gronk points. I'm looking down at the phone. Brady, 30 for 35, 354 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then, of course, I just have to mention, the big news in the league this week. If you didn't get Brady, you got fucking Roethlisberger, for crying out loud. Ton of touchdowns in that game. He, broke the touchdown record for the team, didn't he?
Yeah, it was crazy. He went for over 500 yards, I know, and I believe he had 6 touchdowns.
6 touchdowns. So I know he broke the record for the team for most touchdowns and most yards in a game. It was just
And Luck kept the Colts in it for a while. I mean, Colts put up crazy points too, which Luck has been balling out this season anyway. So.
Yeah, we were watching that game in a drunken haze because of our crying in our beer for our game. LaFell also did well, 11 receptions, 124 yards, and a touchdown. I think that was more our defense making him look good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's not a star, top, crazy wide receiver. Brady was on the money all day.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, Tim Jennings, we just gave you a contract. Where are you?
Yeah.
You should be playing much better when you're against Brandon LaFell. And he was just, again, he just read his stats. He went off. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, enough about the Bears.
We have a bye week, so,
Yes.
Thank goodness. I need it.
Zoe needs it, too, for crying out loud. All right, so we're going to get into Week 9. We're going to have our fan segment this week. Smash and I hung out, and we had Lexi on last week, taunting her about the Broncos playing the Chargers, and we hung out at Rocco's Tavern, and we're watching the Chargers game, and that was a good fantasy game too, especially if you had Keenan Allen. Yikes.
On my bench.
On my bench in 2 leagues. That's what happens in fantasy. You have a guy that is, not streaky and doesn't go on any streaks, then all of a sudden one game he just goes completely insane.
Finally got a touchdown, got his first touchdown of the season.
Yeah, and a bunch of yards. And in that game, of course, you had Antonio Gates break the Chargers receiving yards record and he now has the most touchdowns ever in their league. So congratulations to Antonio Gates. I kept saying to Smash, he's like he's their Tony Gonzalez. He's like going to play forever.
Yeah.
He's just going to play forever. Nobody would have thought he was like going to be a fantasy stud this season, and look what's happened. So
yeah, well, he's healthy. He's healthier than he has been for a long time. So
yep. Look us up on social media. Go to Big Balls Fantasy Football and look up all of our sites around there. You can find us on Twitter at Big Balls F-Ball. You're watching us on YouTube at youtube.com/BigBallsFootball. Make sure you subscribe to us. We're at 91. 9 more subscriptions, and we're at 100. Yay.
Yeah, and of course, facebook.com/BigBallsFantasyFootball. And our hub is BigBallsFantasyFootball.com.
Yep. So let's get into it. We're going to have some real men, and we're going to have some beast mode coming up. Stay tuned.